Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Let me just test that it's coming through here. Here is now. Imagine a work. Oops. Oh, I'm gonna also talk about this. Let's just make sure that we got the audio coming through. It says it's broadcasting, so I'm guessing there's a bit of a delay. Just waiting for everything to get up. So what we will be talking about is more or less an AI video editor. We'll be talking about more or less how things are changing within the content creation field, and specifically with the rise of AI, what kind of innovations that have come in the way, and also how these can basically be used, and what kind of new use cases that have come through because of it. I am just verifying that the live stream is up. It looks like it. Testing. So it looks like the volume isn't as loud. Let me just turn it up. I apologize if it starts clipping. So I think we're all good to go. So welcome and to this live stream. What we're going to be talking about is script editor and the current progress from it. So as you know, script editor was initially the idea whereby we get a script and then we can create into a video in real time. So for example, if you have a script on, hey, I want the biography of Albert Einstein or how the space race happened, what it does is it creates a video from it. So currently, the initial prototype started with YouTube Shorts, or was geared towards YouTube Shorts. So we're just ideally working to perfect that 60 seconds YouTube Shorts content creation and go from there. And that is primarily what we're looking at to do. So before we actually go into any kind of detail, I just want to kind of show you where it's at and how it works. So what you see is this kind of UI, and then this UI is primarily this chat UI, similar to what you see with a ChatGPT or you see with Perplexity, where in Perplexity you can just say something and then it creates the video just in real time, just like that. That's kind of how it works here. So in fact, you can see it here. I'm gonna log in, hopefully, so you can see it. Here's the login, the UI and all of that, but I believe I'm already logged in, so I'm just gonna open a new tab and just go to the chat interface. And I'm running this locally, so it's gonna be slightly slower, and for the users who would like to test it, you can try it out on Scripteditor.ai. We'll talk exactly what that means by Scripteditor.ai. So I am going to just show how this works. First of all, let me just check if everything's all running. Okay, it seems like it. So how it is imagine ChatGPT, but you can actually create content from it, or Perplexity. So for example, these are some auto suggestions. So there's been some changes ever since we last spoke, and I'll try my best to at least speak about the main features and then where it's going from there. Before we go into that, we can kind of go into exactly the editor and the improvements of it. So now with the editor, of course, we got this timeline, and so we got the idea to make videos. So this takes an image and translates it into an actual AI video. So for example, this scene was a static image. It's now being translated into an actual moving image. And what that means is that, for example, this is the timeline. My timeline's slightly messy, but this script is actually on specifically on the betrayal of Julius Caesar. And what we can do is just kind of get some more information on it. So if we have a look at this specific and I start playing it, I think we should be able to hear it.
Betrayal, but there's far more to Brutus, the ultimate betrayal. But the reason behind it, it's more complicated than you think. Caesar, the invincible general, was on the verge of becoming king. Rome, a republic for centuries, teetering on the edge of tyranny. Brutus, Caesar's friend, his protege, believed in the republic, freedom. But Caesar was changing things.
And as you can see, like a standard video editor, it's got all the different scenes. For example, these scenes are built up by actual different images. So you can see that we have this kind of AI version of a certain person, and then this will be like 44 BC, unspecified location, a historian omitting Brutus. So this is someone who's talking in third person, and then this would be, for example, while it's narrating. So this will be our narrator in this example. And this will be another scene, which is the 44 BC Rome, Caesar initiating an unspecified action. So possibly waving around. So all of this was primarily generated by AI. So how this came around is that we were speaking to the chat, and they were discussing, hey, how can we make this this script? So this is how you would see it also. So now, as I mentioned, this is on localhost, so slightly slower. So I just literally typed in script on the betrayal of Julius Caesar by Brutus and the reason for it and the aftermath. And it just gave us a script. Now I can decide to talk about this. And in fact, I also use typos on purpose as well as accidental, but we're trying to see if it's able to still understand the context and still refine the script. So for example, if it says something that you don't agree with or something, it's like, can you change this last part in the segment and then generate a new script? It would be able to understand that, and then lastly, it'll generate the new script, and then boom, we see the video preview. And then you can start a new chat afterwards. So how does this look? So in fact, this is another script, and this one is on Shaka Zulu. And this is in the Ghibli or Ghibli. I'm going to say Ghibli. I am not too familiar with the actual pronunciation, but it's a studio Ghibli. They're kind of known for this animation, and just over a few days ago, of course, with OpenAI and their new 4.0 image generation is being popularized, and you can see it as the new trending thing that is all over Twitter. And as a use case and seeing how far we can push with this, one thing we have done is, what we've been doing is basically working to actually make a consistent animation throughout. So as you can see, this is on Shaka Zulu. In fact, I'm going to just play this shortly so you can have an idea of this. Now, you can see that there's a new kind of things. For example, we've got the ability to add text. So if you click text, you can add text like this and start talking about something here. I'm just going to remove this. You've got the ability to also provide animations to it. So for example, we can convert this into an actual video, or we can add like standard animations, for example, fade in. So for example, if I click on fade in, it's going to fade in just like this.
I can't believe this actually happened.
And also there's the different effects. So for example, if you want to have a sepia tone to it, it's going to be sepia. These are going to be updated, but you can see you want to invert it. Lord knows why you want to do that, but this might be like, for example, if you want to it might be interesting. So for example, maybe it might be a aha moment in your script or something. It'll be able to do this kind of effect where it's like talking, invert, and just go back to none. There's also different things, for example, pixelate. Say, for example, there's a certain part of the scene that is kind of not basically NSFW. You can choose to pixelate it, or in fact, you can choose to just blur it altogether also. So these are just different types of options in the script also. Hey, Zaki, here from Smart Mirror. We'll definitely get to this Smart Mirror stuff. So, okay, I'm just looking at the comments. Georgie Elder wrote, bro, do not, may unsubscribe if you do this. So just on this thing, it's when we're talking about this AI video editor, it's the bigger picture. This Ghibli is is a use case, or in fact is an animation, or actual animation that you can choose onto it. You can choose photorealistic, you can do cartoons also. But also just zooming in out of this, one thing is just about like building stuff, and in terms of when you want to do things of building innovation or so, a lot of it doesn't make sense like right now. Yes, we've got a bunch of AI slop also, but through just this trial and error, so there's going to be certain use cases that come out of this, just like how when we had like internet or something, it was just used for primarily sending just like documents or so. Now we're on the airwaves and live streaming with uh, a mic or so about some new kind of technologies. All I'm just trying to say is that this thing is all, this whole channel is a whole experimentation to see what kind of new technologies there are and then what we can do with them. So, I mean, that's just kind of what I just want to just make clear. So there's going to be different types of things. Yes, we're going to go back into robotics. We're going to go into smart mirrors and so. But right now, we're just focusing on seeing what we can do in this specific use case at the moment. So, and to be honest, there is a lot of interesting things. One thing I also want to focus on, and the main goal of Script Editor, is that the whole idea is not for it to be AI slop, where the whole idea is not to also use AI to replace. The whole idea of this is for AI to be used as a springboard for your imagination. So, for example, you want to make a storyboard, but you need help conceiving the idea or bring it into reality. This is a tool, like not being cheesy, but the proverbial Steve Jobs on the bike. It should be like a tool, like a bicycle that helps us get to one place to another, which means just generating the idea and bringing it into reality. And that's the main idea of it. Hence why you've got this whole idea of this video editor and this AI assistant agent that's able to help you throughout this. So overall, yeah, long story short, there's going to be different types of projects or so. And like you mentioned, some people might like it, some people might not. But either way, innovation is going to keep innovating here. So anyways, back into the project. What we're gonna be doing. So what I want to also be one thing I want to show is actually just the whole idea of this. So once we have the actual script, you are able to then export this video. Of course, this is just the final export, and this is in the MP4 format with everything all stitched together. Also, now before I go into this, let's actually just show you an idea of how this looks like as a script. So once I'm here, let me just find it. We can actually generate any script. For example, just like a Perplexity UI, you have these kind of autofill. So for example, if you have an idea, think of it like a Google search engine. I can click on documentary and I can see a bunch of kind of trending topics that I could just draw inspiration from, or I can think of another one. So for example, let's just make a script and let's say a cinematic script on cinematic script on the biography of Alexander the Great also. And then this is just basically kind of our portal into whatever we want to do. So for example, we can choose the tone where we want to kind of show the sentiment. So for example, if it's dramatic, if it's neutral, or if we want to make it informative, or we can make it humorous. In fact, let's try a dramatic tone, which is already thing. So just like any kind of input box, once we press enter, what it's going to do is just going to take us through this, and it's going to be primarily going to be thinking, and it's just going to give us the kind of script that we have in mind. So in this case, it's like we use the dramatic tone. So it's like, hey, you've been lied to about Alexander the Great. They tell us about the conquest and his empire, and it just goes into this. So based on this script, what it's going to be doing in the back end, just to give an idea, is that we're going to be breaking down all of these kind of specific sentences and breaking them into chronological scenes that make sense and stitching together an image and also an audio that actually matches that scene and sentiment. And that's what we see here. So when we're talking about that Ghibli kind of animation, this is one of the animations that you can do. So for example, in the video generation right now, the languages, and I'm adding more, is that we have English, and then you can also choose, like, for example, multi-language support, so Hindi or Swell. You've also got different voices, so you can hear.
Hi, I'm a script editor voiceover. I'll be narrating your video.
That's Brian, and this is going to be Jessica.
Hi, I'm a script editor voiceover. I'll be narrating your video.
And this is also Callum.
Hi, I'm a script editor voiceover. I'll be narrating your video.
So these are different types of voice personalities that you can choose to add. And of course, you can choose to whether you want the format to be a 9:16 or 16:9, or you can choose the art style. And in this case, this is the Ghibli format that we have chosen. But of course, you can choose photorealistic. You can even choose cartoon or of a Pixar-like or an anime kind of thing, and then it will generate this into this kind of format also. So one thing about this is that this is kind of an interesting kind of thing, because it either works or it doesn't. And then in order to actually test that, and what I've been doing is actually creating a YouTube channel and then actually putting these tests on and seeing if people are actually finding them interested. So you can actually see this YouTube channel, and then this is basically the examples of it. So it's literally aptly named Scripteditor.ai, and then for example, there's a few new ones. For example, this one is about the space race also, and then in fact this came from just a script about, hey, just tell me about the space race, and then can you create this into a content. Now the whole idea of this is that what this use case can be is that it can even go further than just like content, but it can be helpful for visualization. For example, I want to understand the concept of something arbitrary, like that is kind of seen like kind of quote unquote boring. Let's say mortgages, like, or interest rates. Can you help visually explain it? And it will be able to do that. So this is about the space race. So I can show you this shortly.
I can't believe this actually happened. We all know America landed on the moon first, but the space race, Russia dominated for years. Think Sputnik, 1957, the first satellite. Then Laika, the dog.
All of this was created in Scripteditor.ai.
Yuri Gagarin, first human in space. Then Valentina Tereshkova, first woman. Russia. Feels like they couldn't be beaten. But then came Apollo, Kennedy's vision. A moon landing by the end of the decade. High stakes. Utter national humiliation if they failed. And they almost did. Numerous setbacks.
So just like this is the primarily designed from a script on the space race, and then it's being able to build on this. And then this is actually quite if you do have time, you can see how it's changed over time. So this was in fact the very first video.
Augustus, the great Roman ruler who reshaped the Roman
You can see
Empire,
how
is a
static
figure of
and
immense
robotic it
historical
was.
significance. Born Gaius Octavius, he rose to power after the assassination of Julius Caesar.
And this is the latest that we have right now, of course, with the whole idea of AI video.
We all know America landed on the moon first.
You can hear the voice intonation. You can hear like the sound effects of like the swelling of what sounds to be like a violin in the background, as well as the actual images that go with it. And so.
But the space race, Russia dominated for years.
And one thing is also, previously we were using an older ChatGPT model for the actual AI language, and then right now I'm experimenting with different ones, and this one's actually using Gemini, which is kind of interesting. It's got if you do ask for it's got a lot of interesting factual information in terms of how. When I ask it a question, it does provide it in a way that is quite interesting. Rather than expecting what I want, it does provide some more additional info that makes you go, huh? And then this is, for example, what I can
Think
explain.
Sputnik, 1957, the first satellite. Then Laika, the dog. Heartbreaking, yes, but they were first. Yuri Gagarin, first human in space, then Valentina Tereshkova.
And all this pacing is all done by the whole idea of the script editor. It takes your script and then finds the ability to paste this into something that can actually fit the tone. In this case, this is a dramatic tone. So with that said, what I would like to do is possibly actually try out just a test of a real demo just to show how it works. So this is the script on Alexander the Great. For example, this might be like, hey, you'd be like, we don't want this to be this much information. So we go like, hey, for the first sentence, let's make this more captivating. I'm now giving it something somewhat of a vague command, but it's going to be able to understand this and then reword this, at least that specific part, into something that might be interesting. And you can see at the top, there's these kind of comments that are in slight gray. And this is actually the AI understanding what we are wanting and then providing this here. So it's like, okay, I've rewritten the first sentence to be more captivating. So instead of by saying you've been lied to about Alexander the Great, which is quite an interesting hook, this one is like, what if I told you everything you know about Alexander the Great was a carefully constructed lie? Now, this is more of a eyebrow raising one, because this is going to be something that might have someone listen to it a bit more. So you can see that these different types of things can add to the personality of it. So this is primarily how it works. So with that said, let's actually try and generate a video. Now we have all these kind of different settings that I've just explained, which we have the video format, the voice selection, the language, and the actual art style. And let's actually try the Ghibli format. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So what we're going to do is just generate this. And what this is going to be doing in the background is creating the script and splicing it into a whole video format, which will be ready very shortly. So the whole idea of what we're trying to do here is that we're actually looking to streamline the content creation logic. So if we actually, if I do show you on the other screen where we had initially the ability to actually create a script or so, typically when you're creating a script, you would probably need to use Notion to create the script, idealize the script, then it'll come to the content creation, then you'll have to get a video editor like Final Cut Pro to actually edit it, add, for example, the sound effects and all. And then finally, you will have to do your voiceover and other stuff. And then once you're done, you'll need to post this into whatever specific channel you want. With this, what we're trying to do is at least focus on merging all of this all into one platform. So for example, from the idealization of the script, we have this idea of this text box of this chat input box of, hey, you can actually type in this script wherever you want, and then you can refine the script. And once you refine it, and as you saw in the previous part before this, we click generate video. And what it's going to do is going to attempt to one shot and generate a video. And the whole idea is that this will be the end video. However, you can choose to edit the typo here. We can choose to edit the raw video in more detail here. So what we have here is that, okay, it appears to be done. That's interesting. So this is about a script about Alexander the Great. Hold on, so I need to go into the other screen. So remember when we talk about the cinematic script, what it was doing, it was generating, and then now it's generated, and this is in the Ghibli format. And then we can see that it's now being able to actually provide a title, and it's like Alex's secret weakness or so. So I don't even know what this is going to be about. So let's actually go into this. Now, one thing I'm working on is working on the consistency between the different scenes. Sometimes the actual animation is slightly off, but right now this is the first time we're actually watching this live. So let's actually see how this works. So this is the actual script. Now, remember, we had the script here. Sorry, let me just go back. So by the way, you can go back to chat by clicking back to chat here, and then you'll see the actual script here. And by the way, just to let you know, I'm running this locally. Also, so it's just slightly slower, but you can see that we have the script here, and then once we click generate video, it generates the video, and then you can choose to start a new chat. But now we generate the video, we can now go into it. So I'm going to play it for the first time. I don't know what to expect. And this is the kind of interesting thing about it here, is that of course we know what the script is, but we don't know what the images are going to come with it. So this is a kind of an interesting thing. So realistically, use case wise, where can this go with it? So of course, the idea is that we want to make high quality production also, and not necessarily the idea of AI slop. And this is the reason why I do believe that the idea of using this as an imagination springboard, like for example, you have an idea, but you don't really know what it is, or you're a video editor or a video designer, and you want to understand, I have this idea of like making a video, but there's some bits that are missing in terms of how I want to visualize. This will help you visualize it. So right now it's focused on actually doing the end-to-end production, but the whole idea is you can also use this to make a storyline or a storyboard and go further. So I'm actually going to go and play this for the first time. I don't know what to expect. Let's go.
What if I told you everything you know about Alexander the Great is a carefully constructed lie? They tell you about his conquests, his empire, but the secret historians often skip his vulnerability. Imagine 323 BC Babylon, not a battlefield but a fevered deathbed. He's only 32. Years of campaigning, yes, but imagine the pressure. A king to some, a brutal tyrant to others. His empire, built on speed and charisma, started crumbling before his eyes. His generals already jockeying for position. He wanted to go west, Rome, Carthage. What if he did? What if Alexander's legions marched on a budding Roman republic?
So just on this is the first time seeing it, which is really cool. Sorry, I find this really interesting. The one thing I just want to show you is the intonation. You can hear.
What if he did? What if Alexander's legions marched on a budding Roman republic?
You can hear like there's certain type of intonation that actually helps like put emphasis on certain things that want to be said. Now, this kind of script is kind of an interesting one because we talked about the Alexander the Great, but it's also, and this is what I was talking about with the Gemini model, it kind of helps, like, of course you had this script or so, but it's also taking this kind of standpoint where instead of talking about the greatness or something, what we've refined it to do is actually talk about not only his things, but for example, his weakness or so. For example, if you know about Alexander the Great, once they conquered such a large amount, it was just, and he did fall ill. It was down to him and his generals. His generals were basically taken over after that. But you can see you can hear everything about it. So this takes it from Alexander the Great's vulnerability. And of course, with this, this is kind of a quite interesting one shot. Once we're done with this, we can literally just click here and choose to export it. And then we have a YouTube integration. So you could then be able to ideally export this and put this on your channel straight away. So with this, of course, like in any other image editor, we can choose to move things around, reorder things altogether. Now, one thing I also want to show is that this is a 9:16 format, but you can choose to do a 16:9 format. So let's actually do that and see how this looks. So these are different types of formats you can choose. Now, of course, once you do this format, it's going to reset everything. And I would look into actually doing the ways that we can retain it. But this is now, instead of a YouTube Shorts, which is a vertical, we're now doing this landscape. So this is, like, for example, the format that you're seeing this live stream on. So let's have a look.
What if I told you everything you know about Alexander the Great is a carefully constructed
You can
lie?
see there's more.
They tell you about his conquests, his
More
empire,
on the screen.
but the secret historians often skip his vulnerability. Imagine 323 BC Babylon. Not a battlefield, but a fevered deathbed. He's only 32. Years of campaigning.
So this is basically, ideally, at least with this new kind of cartoon Studio Ghibli kind of format, how it looks. And one thing that has been worked on is ensuring that there's at least consistency between the scenes, which is starting to see kind of quite a bit of a payoff here. We can choose to add some audio on this. And of course, what we want to do is probably have this as a fixed height. But let's just add some images here. So add some actual sound to this. So what we can do is actually add sound to it, just like any other audio video editor. And you can also choose to add images to it too. What I'm just going to do is actually just put this down and then actually add some effects to it. Now, what you can do is actually select specific tracks and then you can master the volume yourself. So this one, I'm just going to put this slightly down so we can hear the voiceover.
What if I told you everything you know about Alexander the Great is a carefully constructed lie? They tell you about his conquests, his empire. Secret historians often skip his vulnerability. 323 BC Babylon. Field, but a fevered deathbed. He's only 32. Campaigning, yes, but
so this is primarily what I wanted to show, ideally with the new Ghibli kind of animation, whereby we're able to it's either Ghibli or Ghibli. It was one of them. But yeah, we're able to at least provide this whole consistent scene altogether. So with that said, ideally we have the whole animations, we have the whole script and all. Now lastly, we can choose to export this video and we can export it to a specific channel. Right now I've been testing this within our actual YouTube Scripteditor.ai, whereby we have this different types of content. So this is the photorealistic, and of course we have the Ghibli format, whereby it's more cartoonish.
I can't believe this actually happened. We all know America landed on the...
And of course there's different ones. So for example, we have one on the French Revolution.
What if I told you the French Revolution started with a simple loaf of bread? In 1789, the people of France were starving. Bread prices soared and the common folk had enough. Meanwhile, the nobility lived in luxury.
So this is primarily it. I just wanted to primarily show the main updates, and there is a lot that we can go into more detail. For example, we have the ability to actually generate images, generate image to video. So you take an image like this and it's able to generate it into a video. So for example, if we go back to none and we actually look at the specific scene itself, there's this option whereby you can generate a video, and with this you'll be able to choose what specific things you want on the video. For example, you want the mouth slightly moving, you want blinking. The whole idea of this is that it should be almost skill based. So of course there is the idea of this AI image generator, but we are also providing the idea of you can ideally provide your own prompt, so you can ideally create different images from it. Also on top of that, we have the whole idea of choosing the different type of image models. So for example, we have the Flux, which has this kind of photogenic kind of model, like realistic kind of look to it. Imogen 3 is one where I'm very a big fan of. And then of course we have the Gemini models, and of course when the image generation of 4 is out, this will be something that would be very interesting to look into implementing. So Fire and Blaze said, I mean, putting in the time and effort to make an animation, even if most of it is streamlined, shouldn't be sneezed at. If most of the streamline shouldn't be. I appreciate your comment, Fire and Blaze. I don't really understand what you meant by that, but I mean, putting in the time and effort to animation, even if most of it is streamlined, shouldn't be sneezed at. Yeah, I don't really understand, but what I would say is like, yes, ideally the whole idea is here is that, yes, of course, we want to streamline what can be done. So, for example, we can focus on other things that are more important in the actual video production or so. And if you're just a user that just wants to use this, it's also this idea of you could be able to springboard on your ideas and build anything from it. So that's primarily it. Oh, okay. I mean AI videos. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's true. Um, so with that said, that's primarily most of the things I wanted to speak on. Unless anyone has any other questions, the whole idea here is Script Editor. We take this chat input, and then your output would be the whole video editor, the video output, which you see in this one. This is about Shaka Zulu.
Imagine a young boy ridiculed, exiled. That boy, Shaka, his rise unstoppable. He revolutionized Zulu warfare. Shorter spears for brutal close combat, discipline, unwavering loyalty. He forged a nation, but it wasn't just military might. Shaka mourned his mother Nandi.
And you can see how like it's still maintaining the animation and between the scenes, which is quite an implementation that it just recently happened. So this is something good, because before the animations varied wildly. Sometimes you'll get like a Simpsons like look, you'll get a 3D model kind of look, and it kind of took you out of the image or the whole video. So this is primarily the main things. Now, in terms of the next steps would be more about improving stability and actually improving the quality, because right now there's this idea of AI slop. And the whole idea is to take this into a higher production value, whereby a user would be able to have an idea. Hey, I want to think of an idea of a script that I want to make into a YouTube video. I may not have the idea fully here, and work with this to actually generate an image. Or it could just be for someone who is actually looking at making content. They've already got content already and they want to make it into a video. And this would be a perfect solution for them. For example, if they want to explain concepts, or they have a whole novel they want to do, which can be in parts or so. So this is primarily it. And one thing I also want to also mention, so the term vibe coding, I was just thinking about this. This was, and the whole idea of vibe coding is that, of course, it's all vibes also. There's minimal kind of interaction with the code itself, and you're primarily working on just basically building your solution as with AI. And this is the term that I want to use on this, is like, it's more or less like vibe editing. So in terms of like video editors, you'll be able to, of course, with your expertise on top of that, you'll be able to use this as a tool set to ideally create more videos in a quicker time, and boosting your productivity. So these are the main things, and yeah, that's primarily it. So this is more like a vibe editing for video editors. You can create your videos straight away from there. So this is primarily the main thing I want to talk about in terms of Script Editor. And if you would like to, you can try this out yourself and then see what you can make with it. Let your imagination run wild with Script Editor. You can make historic videos, you can make documentaries, or you can talk about scientific concepts, and you can all bring it to life. So with that said, I would like to thank everyone all for joining. Fight and Blaze, No More, Zaki, nice to meet you, Zaki, Anshu, and Jordi. Thanks all for joining, and we're gonna be doing some more interesting stuff. Of course, there is going to be more different projects on the way. Right now, currently looking at, let's see what we can do to take this to the stratosphere and actually make a cutting edge and bleeding edge content creation tools. So thank you all for joining. My name is Eben, and until next time, and hopefully with a lot more updates. Peace.